Every patch of grass has the potential to become a skyscraper. All it needs is to be put under construction. Welcome back to yet another episode of Under Construction SA. I'm your host, Thuso Motsomane, and today it's going to be a masterclass. We're going to be going into everything that has to do with branding and marketing with Wanda. Wanda, how are you doing? And welcome to Under Construction SA.
I'm all good too, so man, thanks for having me in your platform. It really is a privilege and an honor to grace such a very big platform. I've seen the people who've come here, and when you extended the invitation, I was a bit hesitant to accept it. I had a lot of self-doubt, but I'm happy and glad that I'm here to share some insight on my career, and I hope people can be able to take some positivity in our talk and apply it to their lives, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure and a privilege to have us. Trust me, when we extend invite to people, we know they're capable. And for us, our platform, maybe we don't know, it's for people who are on the come up, mainly, actually. It's for people who are still beginning. We're showcasing their journey at the beginning. We're saying, South Africa, this is the next big thing. And as well, yes, we have people who are a bit ahead because of the information, so that they can tell us, you know what, we've been on this road. Avoid this, avoid this, avoid this. And then we learn from them. But I'm excited for this episode. I'm excited to have you because I've heard you share insights on branding. And before we go into a lot of stuff, before we go into branding, because for you guys who are watching, this is a master class. Be ready with your pen. Be ready if you're a business person. If you're a personality creative, this episode is for you. We are going to learn, both you and I, because I'm also going to learn, because there's some questions that I have that Wanda is going to help me. So, but before we get into Wanda's, because I want to go into his background and who he is, I want you to click on the subscription button, and I want you to go up there as well and click on the notification button so that every time we drop an episode, you are notified. So, Wanda, maybe tell the people who are watching your surname, where you're from, and what you are about.
Okay, so my name is Wanda Tshangela. That's my full name. Along the years, I've actually grown to embrace my second name. It's something that I never used to use as part of my introduction, but now I'm embracing that name because it's my identity. I hail from the dusty lands of Eastern Cape in Mthatha. Most people would know Mthatha for Mandela, Nelson Mandela, the likes of Nelson Mandela, Black Coffee, etc., etc. There's so many talents that Mthatha has produced. And I know for sure that I'm going to be one of them in the next coming few years. So do check the space out. Yeah, I mean, I'm a last born at home out of 6 kids. I'm the last born, studied marketing in CPUT, did my undergrad and postgrad in CPUT, and I've kind of like put on hold my master's degree in branding due to various reasons, personal reasons. I wanted to pursue the experience first, so that when I do my master's, it's something that I'm very much comfortable with. I've worked in a private sector, I've worked in the NPO sector, and I've also worked in an institute sector. And all of these sectors that I've worked in revolves around branding and brand communications. I've also had like side hustles that I had to do, personal branding for YouTubers, personal branding for a rapper who's my friend, Wanda from Cape Town. I've also assisted a few startups in photography, t-shirt businesses. There's a number, but yeah, I am getting there. Man. And now I'm back in Johannesburg, trying to find my feet again. Hopefully, something is going to pan out very soon. I'm part of a boot camp, which kind of like unpacks digital marketing and what new emerges in digital marketing and so forth. So I'm also interested and also very much curious to see the end result. We've been collaborating with a number of talented individuals within the program, and it's been a learning curve, and also it's been an unlearning curve, you know. with learning new things, you also need to be willing to unlearn old things. Yeah.
Oh, no wonder. I like the fact that you were highlighting Black Coffee, Mandela, which they are world icons. Black Coffee just won a Grammy, and
Cool.
there's a statement I read that you said that you want to contribute towards brands that have a global or world impact. Break that down for us. Why is it that? Is it because of Umtata? It seems like people from Umtata. I just like that, but I just want us to go into there. You triggered that part when you spoke about those various people.
I mean, it's not necessarily the mere fact that I'm from Umtata, but I look at the world trade, and specifically in terms of advertising, we see a lot of South African agencies doing big overseas. We see a lot of artists doing big overseas, and I think a lot of people overseas, it's predominantly your Black Africans who have their roots rooted in African culture, which is Africa as a whole. So we can now actually have found a way to in sync that cultural behavior between South Africans, and Africans in general as a whole. Hence, you can see that most South Africans are just raising the South African flag abroad. And it's something that I also want to pursue. The bigger vision is always for me to have a footprint overseas and not only in South Africa. So South Africa is just the tip of the iceberg, but obviously you have your short-term and your long-term vision. As you acquire them, your long-term vision becomes your short-term vision, So the vision always changes as you acquire them. So it's frequent evolving, often inner self in terms of career-wise. So yeah.
Wow, you speak so much about Africans. You seem like you are passionate about Africa and its people. And I'm interested because I feel like we share the same thing, but I'm interested to pick your mind to say, why is it important for you to represent Africa and to be a proud African?
I think, man, we've had a lot of missed opportunities. We've missed a lot of opportunities due to various, I don't want to come across as someone who's still hanging up in apartheid, but apartheid did a lot of things to us. You find like some people who are Black and they have to engage with a white person. There's always that madam, but when you engage with a Black person, you predominantly would use their first names and stuff like that. So it's more like we are pre-programmed to fear a certain demographic of people, And also just to break the status quo and also to challenge it, we need to be united as Africans in order for us to break those things, Two minds is always better than one. And I'm a big fan, I'm a big contributor of collaboration. I love to collaborate with people. And within that collaboration, we can be diverse, but our roots needs to be founded on the same belief or religion or same standard of thinking, in as much as we might be diverse in terms of expertise and knowledge, but let us be grounded in one purpose. What do we want to achieve? And what we want to achieve is to say, we are, as Black people, we are capable and we have what it takes. So I should not really rely on a white man for me to be successful. I need to be able to rely on my Black brother and my Black sister to be successful. And that way we are shaping the world and also bringing out the unity of a rainbow nation. United we stand, divided we fall.
Wow, you pick some of the things that I'm really passionate and I like speaking about, and I would love to go more into the conversation, but you know what, this is not the time for that today. Like I promised the people who are at home, it's about branding, but it's quite interesting that me and you sort of share the same values and stuff in terms of Africanism and Africans and stuff like that, and Africa to the world, which I think piano, for us who are in South Africa, for me, was a creative, embodies that Africa to the world, or whether it's a Black Coffee, like you're saying, who's doing a different sound, whether it's a Thuso bed, who's whether and the people that are doing, Thuso Kwayo, who's speaking, who's an international speaker, man, it's something for us to be proud of and to say, because we are from the dusty streets. You know, some of us are from the township. To say that I can be from the township, I can be from the rural areas, which again, it's what Under Construction wants to speak to. It's what we are actually targeting to inform and to take young people from those specific areas on this journey that we are on, you know. And I could go more and more and speak about this thing the whole day, but it's another topic for another day. But I want us to. But I want us to define, for you to define the word, because we always hear the word branding, brand. You know, what does brand describe or explain to us the definition of what is a brand?
I mean, well, Thuso, there's always like people have a misconception as to what brand is. You know, we have what we call brand, which is a brand, and we have what we call branding. So those are two different words, but most people, it's easy to interchange them when you explain them. So the brand, it's a trademark. It's more of a trademark, you know, but branding, it's more than just the name. It's the characteristic, it's the personality, it's the tone, you know. Each and every brand has a tone, how you communicate, your copyright, the ways that you communicate with people, your brand colors, you know, what colors are you using? It resonates with people. So you might use red. We know red, it could be for danger, red could be for love, black is for maturity, white is for purity. So you need to think deep about the certain colors that you go into. But in essence, a brand, it's mainly just a trademark, you know. It's something, it's a symbol that we use to identify a product or a service, to say this is Thuso, and you identify Thuso with a certain logo. But branding digs deeper into who Thuso really is. What type of a person is Thuso? What personalities does Thuso have? How does Thuso communicate with us? What is Thuso's specialty? What is Thuso industry? You know, so that's what we call branding. So for instance, you would find not everything can be branded, by the way, but not everything is a brand. You know, like I said, we can always put a trademark in something, but that doesn't mean that that thing is a brand. It's just the way we are able to identify, because we can't personify it. You know, then a branding, it's something that we create and we make it standalone. So it can be, we kind of like humanize it. You know, so hence we would refer to it as, for instance, Nike, Adidas, and stuff like that. We refer to it as if it's a legal entity, and we refer to it as someone. You know, we can resonate with Nike, and also how you would write the name Nike in your sentence. You would always use a capital letter for the end. That's just to symbolize that you are not referring to something, not just anything, but something. You know, because that thing has a voice that it can speak with, you know, how they write their messages and how they use their advertising and branding. It's all on those things. And it has to be consistent in everything that they do, whether it be digital or traditional marketing. There has to be that consistency. So that is how I'm able, when I see that logo, I'm able to instill it in my mind, because I see that systematic resource in how they've utilized it. You know, whether I see it on my phone, I still see the same colors. Whether I see it on my desktop, I see the same colors. So that's what brand and branding is.
So from what I understand, right, when we speak about a brand, the brand is Casper.
Yeah.
The branding, because you spoke about the characteristics, the tone, the voice is, you know, for me, when I understand the branding around Casper University, it's inspiration. You know, I associate him with inspiration. I associate him with the township. I associate him with against all odds. He made it out of the town. Like, that's the story that I associate with Casper. Am I right to say that the story and the stuff like that, it's branding, and then the brand is Casper University? Am I right?
Yeah, to some extent, yes, that is correct, because Casper is a brand on himself, you know. So the branding would go to the nitty-gritties of how are we building Casper Best, you know. His corporate logo is that black and white thing, you know, so that would be the branding. So the branding would most likely to be the activities that you get into building a brand, you know.
Okay.
So, but in essence, that would be it.
Okay, thank you. Now I think, yeah, I'm getting it. We are learning today. It's intense, guys. Take notes. We are learning. Wanda is serving as a master class. Then what's the difference between a brand or hey, these things, you said branding and branding, but what's the difference between, you know, brand and marketing? Is it the same thing or are they different?
So those are two completely different things, right? Because branding, like I said, branding, it's you create a personality, or you create something that revolves around a personality. So marketing is all about marketing tactics, like getting your brand being seen out there, you know. So there's so many things that we come across as people. So how do you differentiate yourself from the other person next to you? So that's where branding comes in, to say there are two Thusos. Then we would have to use branding to differentiate those two Thusos. You know, so you'd find one who is more casual, you would find one who is more formal. So that would be the differentiating factor. So that would be the personality. One is more laid back and the one is more serious, you know. So when we market, we use the elements of branding to market that brand. You know? So we're gonna use, maybe you are a very intellect or someone who is into books. So we would use that to say Thuso is into books. So if you want to learn more, follow Thuso to read more about the new books that's coming. So marketing is more about the how. So how do we do it? You know? So branding, it's more about build identity, build a reputation. Marketing is more about building marketing is more about returns on revenues, you know, because now that we've built this reputation for this brand, so how do we capitalize on that reputation by making a finance for ourselves? So that would be the marketing tactics, which would include advertising, marketing, your social media. So those would be your marketing things.
Wow, that's amazing. So what would you say, why would you say branding is important? Why is branding important?
It is important too, because like I said earlier on, we come across with so many different elements in our day-to-day lives, you know. So branding is important because you want to create a memory in someone's mind. And there's so many things that as human beings we see and come across, you know. So you are fighting for that number one spot. And the easiest way to do that is through visual. So branding has to be a visual thing, you know. So let's say, for instance, I didn't have a logo, you know, I don't have a logo. And there's a company that has a logo that does the same thing as me. You're most likely to remember the company that has a logo because there's a symbol that attracts your mind. And how our mind works is we work much more better. We remember much more better when we see visuals than when we read things, you know. So hence branding is important because you want to cultivate and capture people's attention and that audience through visuals. So your logo, your color, and your brand personality is also put into how you build your brand. So branding is very important because it also serves as a differentiating factor between you and your competitors. So when you have that brand, it is only unique to you and not unique to the next person. So I know Thuso for who Thuso is. I don't know who Thuso for who the next person is. So branding is all about how do you differentiate yourself from the others while making yourself unique.
I like it. So it's all about distinguishing, because we can have two Thusos that you said, but where we distinguish Thuso Mutau and Thuso Motsomane, it's the branding, it's the brand, like the characteristics, the voice, and stuff like that. And I'm really learning, and I love it. But because there are laymen, there are people who might not understand some terms, and sometimes we struggle to understand. Maybe as I ask you questions, you can also use examples that we know, maybe a black coffee, Mandela, a business that we know, so that you can put a picture in the people so that we can understand, because most people that watch, or not all of us, really understand the language or the lingo or the business language, and I think if you can break it down in terms of examples of everyday life, field charts, we eat, macaroni, whatever, you can go to them, Colgate, because these are brands that have positioned themselves and they are strong brands. So, but I wanted to ask you about a personal branding, because we're speaking about tools now, and that speaks to personal branding, maybe explain what is personal branding to us,
Yeah, I think there is a thin line between a personal branding and a brand, but personal branding would mostly deal with how you carry yourself as a human being. So how do you as Thuso carry yourself? So you need to treat yourself as a brand and not just an ordinary citizen, because you attain certain artistic or certain skills that you possess that you want people to hire you for. So you need to brand yourself according to what you do as a person. So it is important to also have that personal branding. But also the way that branding has changed or has evolved over time, it has moved to generated branding to a more personalized branding, So you in the olden days, you would find email marketing addressing you as Dear Sir. So now we've moved to Dear Sir to Dear Thuso, because we want to build that personal relationship with yourself, So hence it is important with personal branding. You also want to build that personal branding within your circle, within organizations that you work for, because it builds your reputation, it builds your credibility, So it is important to have a personal branding. You do not necessarily need to have a logo for yourself, but the skills that you possess, how do you portray them to the next person? How do you make yourself memorable? So your life needs to tell a story, So everything that you do, you need to portray a certain story that will stick to the next person that you have an encounter with. So if I'm having a conversation with you, you need to make sure you leave something that will be stuck in my mind, that I will be able to remember that on Wednesday I had a conversation with Thuso and this is how it is. And that builds into personal branding. So if you don't have a much more further understanding with that, you're gonna miss a lot of opportunities, because you failed to tell your story and you failed to leave me intrigued, So it has to be memorable, So personal branding is, I would say, the only thing that's different with it. With branding, with the genetic branding, it would be the symbols that people use. But I've seen now that people are also getting into that. A lot of celebrities have logos, specifically DJs. Just to give a typical example, you would see Casper has his own logo with his name. Black Coffee has his own logo. Caper has his own logo. That is to differentiate them from anything that they would come, So when you see that logo of Black Coffee, it kind of like goes into your mind and fetches a certain memory that you had with Black Coffee, and then you would easily remember without even seeing his face, So that logo, it's to link the face to the name and to the craft that person is doing. So I would say personal branding it's more about your skill set that you need to take out, how you portray yourself and how you carry yourself as an entrepreneur or as a professional.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, man. We keep on learning and we keep on learning. Now I know what I'm going to apply. I know how it's going to go now. In terms of tools and how I carry myself, it's very essential to who I'm becoming. So as a brand. So I wanted to ask you, briefly, for small businesses and maybe people who are creatives or personalities in terms of branding, what would you say to them they must focus on briefly?
I think when you create a brand, you do not necessarily need to think of the present times. I think the easiest mistakes that brands do is they build their brand according to what the need is in that moment. So when you build a brand, you want to build something that is long lasting, something that will stick here for the next 20, 30 years, you know. And you also need to think about how you're going to evolve that brand. We've seen a lot of companies evolving. Just a typical example, Instagram was launched, if I'm not mistaken, around late 2000s, you know, and it was that typo keyboard. And then it has evolved to what it is now, you know. We look at the likes of, I think the most recent one would be Google. Google rebranded, and now they have that similar look and feel. You know, it used to be different. Microsoft once rebranded, you know, so you always have to, when you create a brand, you always have to think of the future. And that, I think the most important thing that I would say is that branding, you always need to think that it's a work in progress. So you are never done, because times change. You also need to be able to adapt to new technologies, evolve with the time, so that you stay in sync with the times that we are operating in. So that would be the tangible thing. That would be your logo, your colors. You need to redefine them. You know, technology is evolving. We now have smart TVs. How your logo looks in the smart TV versus the old TVs that have got back, it's different. So you always need to think futuristic, think of things that might change in the near future. So when you develop your brand, you develop around those things. And the most important thing is always to think outside the box. Do not think only just about yourself, but think about the ever-evolving customers that you are out advertising to, or you are attracting to. They change, you know, our needs change. And so do your solutions need to change, and you also need to cater for us. So do not be stuck in the past or in the present, but be proactive, think of the present and think of the future and how you will be able to adapt to those changes as a brand.
Think of the future. And when we build a brand, we must think of the future. You know, I'm chewing everything, I'm taking everything in, because some of it is new information. And as I'm thinking, I'm like, how are we going to do it as like construction? And I'm hoping for creatives and business people who are watching, and you are really, really diving in and getting the information, because this is very essential, you know. And I know to some it might not be entertaining. You don't have a celebrity, you don't have someone, but I think if you really want to build something that's long lasting, if you want to build a business or build your personal brand that is long lasting, I think this is a very important episode. It's not about the nice, yes, we're going to have nice people who are going to laugh, but today it's all about learning. And sometimes you have to just get in there and really listen and grab the information and go apply, you know. So under construction is not only about fun and games and stuff like that, but we also cater to being serious. And today is one of those serious episodes that we have, and that we've never had a serious episode like this intense. But bear with us. This is for your own good. We're not doing it because if anything, but because we want you to benefit. And these things are very essential that Wanda is telling us. So since now we spoke about how what upcoming for someone like me, because I'm also upcoming, business people, brands and stuff like that. We spoke about them, but I want us to take it a bit further, to stretch it a bit. With this topic. What are some of the mistakes that you have picked up from people like me that we do, that we're not aware of, that we should maybe stop doing in terms of branding?
Okay, so let's first break this question into two parts. So I'm going to start with an existing brand that's got a branding. And then later on, I'm going to touch base on a brand that doesn't have branding, or on a company that doesn't have branding at all, on what are the few mistakes they would need not to make. So let's go back to an existing company or an existing brand. They've got their brand, and they've also got their logos and stuff like that. So I think one of the old mistake and the easiest mistake to make is not to frequently update your brand logos and colors, you know. So it's like I've said earlier on, these things, they do change depending on the platforms that we use. You always want your brand to look seamlessly and beautiful at all times. So that requires you updating it to the best or to the updated version of the tools that we use in the digital marketing. I think secondly, it's also your brand placement, you know, so how do you place your brand? How does it appear to people, you know? I think also another thing, it's picking that name, you know. So there's certain few phrases that would mean something different in Xhosa, which would mean something different when translated in English, and also something different when translated into another language, you know. So I'm gonna just give two practical examples of brands that I think we do interact with them on a daily basis, something that I feel we as the youth could resonate with. Take Batu, for instance, Batu and Trip. You go to each and every language, Batu, it's a slang name for either Islangu, you know, Ibatu, Shu, you know, it's a seamless thing. It cuts right through all demographics. It cuts through all cultural differences and tribes, you know. Drip would mean how you wear. It would also mean your shoe itself, you know, it's timeless. So when you create a brand, you also need to be mindful of such things. So your brand name, is it something that will not be provoking to other cultures? Is it something that people will resonate with? Because you are building a relationship, and the first point of contact that people will see is your branding, you know. So you also need to think how people are going to perceive your brand. So there has to be that synergy and that relationship that is built with. And another thing would be colors. Colors are very important when you craft your branding, you know. And colors, because colors resonate with how you are feeling as a brand, you know. Is it red? Red could be for danger, you know. So how do you portray your brand color into how, you know, so that people do not feel a sense of danger, but feel a sense of love, you know. And now companies are also moving. So there's different types of brand logos in terms of design. You've got your typo, which is just your name. And we've also got a typo and then icon, which is your icon would be those, for instance, Adidas. Adidas is an icon, you know, and then you would have the Adidas name written, which is a typo. So we also need to think of such things. So let's say, for instance, if people are not able to pronounce your brand name correctly, you might also want to incorporate an icon next to your brand, you know. Another thing is that I've seen companies make is creating a brand name with an abbreviation, you know, like TMM, for instance. People do not know what TMM stands for, you know. So when you create a brand name for abbreviations, then abbreviation itself needs to make a name. So we look at your brands like FNB, First National Bank, FNB, it reads well. You look at ABSA, you know, which in full is Acclimated Banks of South Africa, you know. So those are the few things that people really need to invest in. So we've covered an existing brand. So now you do not have a branding, you don't know what branding is, and you want to create a brand, either a brand name with your typos and stuff like that. So you need to really look deep into the culture and the setting that you want to operate. Where do you want to operate? Do you want to operate in South Africa? Do you want to go in Africa? Do you want to extend your footprint into African countries? So you need to go and search for the names. What do they mean in those cultures, you know? Spend time in crafting your brand design, because that will be your identity. Because once you've had it and it's here and you do not like the product and it's out there, it's going to be difficult for people to switch from the brand you've put out to the brand you want them to be, you know. So you need to really put the time and energy in it. Do not be too quick. A lot of people make this mistake of they just want to have a name, And now I can copy that name because you didn't think through the process. You didn't maybe get a graphic designer to understand the process, because the brand name and the branding needs to be unique to you and to you only, you know. So think of font styles, font size and stuff like that, you know, because if I can copy it, imagine how many people can copy it. So you also need to think about that. I think another thing is some other things do cut both ways, you know, to an existing brand and to a newly developing brand. Things like your colors as well. You also need to think of your colors and what communication are they sending out to people. Also think to need about religion. We've got different religion, we've got different languages. It needs to speak, it needs to maintain the same meaning across different languages.
Yeah, that was a mouthful, but I understood when you spoke about taking the brand name. And I'm thinking about the things that I've done, and I hope other people are like, yo, did I even really think through what I was doing, what I was naming, and stuff like that. But luckily, I think I really thought through, and I'm just hoping.
I just want to add something when it comes to branding. So I was part of this creative team, and we were trying to create a brand for a packaging company. You know, it was a drink packaging company, and the graphic designer came with the idea and of the package bottle, which is the drink bottle, and it was broken, you know. And they said, guys, let's go for this logo. And my understanding was, my first perception of this logo is that we are selling things that are not of quality. So your brand also represents the type of work that you do. Are you producing quality stuff or not? Are you producing cheap stuff? You know, so people resonate with that. So it's more than just an identity. It also goes to the quality of work that you need to do. Hence, you really need to invest your time and energy in crafting it the right way.
It speaks of when people see that logo or that graphic, they must also speak of quality, whether it's cheap. I'm really learning things that I didn't know, that people can associate my logo, whether it's quality or not and stuff. I didn't think, you know, we think when people go like, as long as it's beautiful, as long as it looks good, you know, as long as the graphic is good, you never really, and I'm being honest, we never really go into thinking of what do colors mean, red for danger, red for what blue. Just say, you know what, this is what I want and stuff like that, and we wing it and go with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it goes horribly wrong, like you said. And when people have to catch up with when you have to change now, it becomes a problem because people are used to that. Now you're trying to change it, it messes up the whole problem. But man, thank you just for that insight and stuff like that. Why would you say people must invest in people like you, or a brand manager, someone who will manage their brand?
I think it's important because we are specialties in the field, you know, and you want to get the best advice at the best price. Of course, it doesn't come cheap, you know, and we go far beyond your expectations as a client. So hiring a brand consultant for your brand, it brings value to your brand because you are working with a professional who understands how the field, someone who's got the insights, someone who's going to guide you into what is wrong and what is right. But most importantly, you have someone who is able to articulate your ideas and your interest in the best possible way ever. So that's why I would say it is important to hire a brand specialist, because if it's an existing brand, we would have to conduct a brand strategy, you know, just to get a look and feel of where your brand is. Does it resonate with people? Does it not? You know, so this requires brand research and marketing research in field. You know, we might have to get people to come ask questions about your customers, about yourself with your customers, because we're trying to get a realistic look and feel. Because the thing with when you have less knowledge is you might have this great idea and you are portraying it in a certain way. But the people which are your customers who are receiving this information might have a misconception about what you want to do. So we as brand consultant, we bridge that gap to make sure that you are able to get your information across and you are not misunderstood, but you are completely understood by your customers, and ultimately build those relationships. And then you have loyal customers, and then you frequently get new customers as we move up. So it is important. It is important. It's one part that is important to any business branding, you know, because it sits at the group level and not at the operational level. It doesn't deal with staff. It deals with how your end users interact with you, and also your staff, because your staff ultimately becomes your brand ambassadors of the business, because they are your voice, they are your contact, you know. So it is important that also when you hire staff, you hire people who will sink in with your vision and mission and what you want to achieve, and that is also portrayed in your branding.
Yeah. This is great stuff, man. Like you heard, guys, you need, I think for me, in what you've said, I've picked up that in order for people not to misunderstand what we stand for and who we are, you guys are like the bridge between the gap between business and customers, and you come and clients, and you come and do this and make sure that there's an understanding and we are flowing. That's what I'm getting from this. But yeah, man, this has been amazing, man. As we go towards the end and as we close off, I want to ask you shortly, briefly, like really briefly, what's your favorite thing about being a South African?
I think my favorite thing about being South African is, for the longest time, I've battled with this thing, you know. I would copy people outside South Africa, but now that I'm old and exposed to new things, one thing I love about us is that we are creative. Everything that we touch, we turn into gold. So I love that about us. We are fearless and we do go for what we want, and we are go-getters, you know. Sometimes it gets hard, but when we have the right support system, emotionally, financially, we are able to go far beyond our capabilities. So I love that about us, and it's something that we need to reaffirm ourselves with. You know, it's the topics that we need to do to say, you are dope, you are on the right track, continue doing what you are doing, you're gonna get your big break. You know, yes, the country is clustered with a lot of unemployment. You might get tired because you've got bills to pay, but that idea that you have, to not throw it in the dustbin.
Yeah, I mean, I like that what you said in terms of creativity, in terms of us being dope, because I just saw this week the Secretary of the United States, the President, I think something like that, guys, please don't kill me, but I saw the Secretary, you know, of the state, you know, the United States. So he was at Tepo Jean's store, and they were having a conversation. And this again speaks to how great we are as South Africans, you know, and that's why I believe in South Africa so much, you know. If a guy like that guy is not trying to be cool, that guy is an old guy, you know, he's a politician, you know, it's unheard of. For him to go to a Tepo Jean, it speaks to how great we are.
Yeah.
You know, and when you see these guys are with piano, authentically South African sound that is from the township, you know, that is made in a back room, you know, some, you know, kumkuku, you know, that sound becoming a global sound, becoming a sound that a lot of celebrities, like football stars, you see Pogba in Manchester, they're playing it in the UK, everywhere, like it's growing. In Spain, you know, it's just amazing. And it speaks to what you're saying, that we are dope, we are creative, and we must believe in ourselves no matter the conditions that we're in. You know, and speaking about creativity and being creative, if you were to describe your life right now using a song, what song would it be? And please sing the chorus for us.
Hey, you put me on the spot, man. Yo, man, I haven't listened like to music. I've been now more into jazz because of life, you know, because I don't listen more to deep house anymore these days or R&B. I'm more into jazz, and I can't sing jazz. I can't. that's the bad thing about it. But I think one of my greatest songs that I've been like hoping on would be Subconsciously by Black Coffee. What I love about the song is a lot of ideas we tend to put them or they tend to come subconsciously and we do not pay attention to them. And those are the greatest
Not to be
ideas.
rude.
You know,
Not
those
to be
ideas
rude.
cross mind
Can you hear
instantly.
me?
Yeah.
Not to be rude. You've explained a lot of stuff. Subconsciously. I love it. Sing the hook for us. It's all about a great voice. It's a fun, but like we hear, yeah, we didn't say explain. We've been explaining branding. We're tired of explanations now. We want someone to sing.
Man, you're putting me on the spot. Like honestly, can I just rather play the song and not sing it? I'm a horrible singer. That's the
No, we all horrible. Just something. What does it like? Even if you just say the words, what do they say? What does the word say at least? What are the words saying? You don't have to sing. What are the words saying?
You want me to push up the lyrics? I'm bad with singing because when I sing, I fail to pronounce certain words correctly. But what I can do is I will practice the song and then do a video, then drop it to you. Then you can post it in your Facebook page. I think that's as far as I can do.
Man, don't worry, don't sweat it. It's fine. I'll let it go. But finally, since you are starting out, what do you look forward to the most?
Man, I'm looking forward to new challenges. There's been an influx of new creatives in the industry, and I see a lot of Black agencies. They are coming together to challenge the status quo. So opportunities are out there. We just need to seek them. I'm looking to work with various people, of course. Like I said earlier on, I'm a big fan of collaboration, and I feel like with collaborations come authentic results, and I'm open to that, and it's something that I'm looking for. Yeah, man. But I think also one thing that I also need to leave to people is that information is out there. We now do have opportunities for us to excel. You know, there's a newly established network which is called the Black Agencies Network Association. It just deals with transformation of Black-owned or Black-driven agencies. You can get funding, mentorship, and project management stuff or from them. There's also another one that is called Black Agencies, which also deals, it's similar to this one. It deals with Black agencies, how to manage your account fees and account clients and stuff like that. So the information is out there. All we just need to do is to come together and grab those opportunities. We now have a fighting chance more than before, and we need to take it and utilize that one.
Man, Wanda, thank you very much for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for the information that you've given. And I hope people that are watching, they're gonna contact you. We're gonna, if you're wondering where he is or what's happening, we're gonna put all his social media thing in the description bar down below. And you're gonna get all the information about him. Contact him, speak about if you want branding, if you want him to help you with that, to manage your brand and stuff like that, you can speak to him. And like he said, it doesn't come cheap, it's at a fee. You know, let's work together. Let's collaborate as Black people, as upcoming artists, and also let's pay one another, as he said. But from us, under Construction SA, we are here every Sunday, 5 p.m. without fail. From me, Thuso Motsomane, thank you for watching Under Construction SA.
Thanks, man.